For centuries, feudal knights dominated battlefields. But in 1302, an unstoppable force met an immovable will. Farmers and weavers, underestimated and outnumbered, stood defiant against the professional might of the French crown. What unfolded was a carnage, a tactical nightmare where the flower of French chivalry was utterly annihilated. Thousands of golden spurs collected, a symbol of unimaginable defeat, a legend born from impossible victory. This is the Battle of the Golden Spurs, a shocking true story that redefined medieval warfare forever. In 14th century Europe, power was consolidated by mighty monarchies and their professional armies. The French monarchy, a beacon of feudal might, sought to extend its dominion over wealthy Flanders. French chivalry, honed over generations, was considered invincible. Their heavy cavalry, a thunderous tide. Yet, Flanders possessed an unconventional force, a militia of merchants, artisans, and farmers. These were not professional soldiers, but citizens united by a fierce desire for independence. This was the ultimate David versus Goliath, an underestimated few against overwhelming professional might. Numbers seemed meaningless against the French, whose army dwarfed their peasant adversaries. The stakes were absolute: freedom for Flanders, or subjugation under the mighty French crown. Medieval martial conventions dictated that disciplined heavy cavalry would always shatter any infantry formation, but at Kortrijk, on July 11, 1302, everything the world knew about warfare changed. This was no lucky fluke. It was a triumph of strategic brilliance, meticulously planned and executed. Fueled by raw, unyielding courage, the Flemish stood firm against wave after wave of French assaults. They defied the martial conventions of the age, turning the French strengths into their fatal weaknesses. The name, Battle of the Golden Spurs, forever etched this impossible victory into history. Its echoes reverberated through centuries, inspiring future generations and altering the course of European warfare. Join us as we unravel this epic clash, examining every pivotal moment that led to this astonishing upset. Prepare to unearth how farmers and weavers crushed feudal might. This is their story. The 14th century dawned, a crucible of power where ambitious monarchs reshaped a continent's destiny. Across these fractured lands, the seeds of conflict were constantly sown, fueled by ancient rivalries. A volatile political climate emerged, where alliances shifted like shadows, and peace was a fleeting illusion. At its heart stood the French crown, driven by an insatiable hunger to expand its formidable dominion. King Philip IV, the Fair, envisioned a unified France, stretching its influence across all boundaries. To fuel this grand ambition, vast resources were needed, and mighty armies to enforce the royal will. His relentless pursuit of power would inevitably clash with prosperous, fiercely independent territories. To the north lay Flanders, not merely land, but a tapestry of wealthy, thriving communes. Its cities, like Ghent and Bruges, were economic powerhouses, built on the lucrative wool and textile trade. These vibrant urban centers commanded immense wealth, their prosperity radiating across northern Europe. Such riches were a beacon, a magnet for the French crown's gaze, irresistible and coveted. French ambition now turned north, seeking to absorb these flourishing cities into its growing empire. Consolidating power meant imposing French law, French administration, and French dominance everywhere. With annexation came heavy taxation, siphoning Flemish wealth directly into the French treasury. French soldiers patrolling Flemish streets, their presence a constant reminder of occupation. The burden of French taxes grew unbearable, squeezing the lifeblood from Flemish farmers and merchants alike. Royal levies were incessant, designed to fund Philip's wars and his court's lavish expenditures. Economic hardship spread, transforming once prosperous communities into centers of growing resentment. This systematic financial extraction became a primary grievance, fueling a deep-seated desire for change. Beyond taxes, a more insidious form of oppression festered: the suppression of Flemish culture. The French crown sought to impose its language, its customs, and its superior aristocratic values. Local traditions were ridiculed, their unique identity systematically undermined by foreign overlords. Yet, the spirit of Flanders endured, strengthening a resolve to reclaim their cherished cultural heritage. From this cauldron of grievances, a powerful desire for independence began to fiercely ignite. The Flemish people yearned for self-governance, a return to their own laws, their own destiny. Resistance wasn't merely a political notion, it became a deep, personal commitment for everyone. Their resolve hardened, a collective refusal to submit to an increasingly tyrannical foreign power. The stage was set, the simmering tensions now boiling over, ready to erupt into open warfare. French dominance demanded submission, but Flanders prepared to defend its very soul with unmatched fury. The foundation for an explosive confrontation was laid, where freedom would be violently forged in battle. In medieval Europe, a unique society flourished in Flanders, a vibrant land of bustling trade and burgeoning wealth. Here, powerful cities rose, economic hubs distinct from the feudal lords dominating much of the continent. While feudalism gripped Europe, Flemish towns cultivated a different path, driven by commerce, not inherited land. These cities secured charters, granting them precious autonomy and freedom from external noble control. The foundation of this independence was its people, not subservient peasants, but free citizens. Among them, master craftsmen thrived, forming powerful guilds, the bedrock of Flemish society and economy. These craft guilds were more than just trade unions, they were centers of political and social power. The weavers, producing the finest woolen cloth, formed the wealthiest and most influential of these guilds. Alongside them, fullers and dyers played crucial roles, transforming raw wool into valuable finished goods. Artisans of every trade contributed, their collective skill and labor fueling the economic engine of Flanders. Guilds provided structure, support, and a shared identity, binding citizens together in mutual loyalty. This tight-knit community also formed the backbone of an unconventional, yet formidable fighting force. Their wealth and independence demanded defense, transforming artisans into citizen soldiers ready to fight. These were not professional warriors, but men driven by the deep desire to protect their homes and livelihoods. From the guilds emerged well-organized militias, a stark contrast to the feudal levies of other lands. Their force was unconventional, relying on collective will and local knowledge, rather than aristocratic might. This unique fighting force, born from the heart of their cities, represented a new kind of power. They were formidable because they fought for their own freedom, their families, and their very way of life. Across the border, traditional feudal armies led by powerful lords embodied an entirely different military ethos. Feudal loyalty bound knights to their lords. Flemish militia fought for self-governance and economic liberty. Their motivations differed profoundly, shaping distinct tactical innovations and battlefield philosophies. Chivalric glory drove one. Grim determination to defend home and hearth fueled the other's resolve. The citizen militias fought for their survival, their economic rights, and the future of their children. Their fight was deeply personal. It was not for distant lands or abstract honor, but for everything they held dear. Necessity bred innovation. Facing armored cavalry, the Flemings developed tactical formations to withstand charges. They learned to fight as a cohesive unit, leveraging their collective strength against individual aristocratic prowess. Their signature weapon, the goedendag, was a brutal, effective tool designed to break both men and horses. Training was pragmatic and disciplined, focusing on formations and weapon mastery vital for their defense. An unwavering esprit de corps bound them, a brotherhood forged in the shared defense of their homeland. This unique, determined force, born from guilds, was now poised to prove its mettle on the blood-soaked battlefield. As the 14th century dawned, a storm brewed over Flanders, threatening its hard-won freedoms. Paris, the heart of French power, turned its gaze north, demanding absolute fealty. But the proud Flemish cities, resilient and defiant, would not surrender their sovereignty easily. The stage was set for a monumental confrontation, a clash of empires and nascent nationalism. From the heart of France, a professional army, disciplined and vast, began its inexorable march. Their leader, Robert II of Artois, a seasoned warrior, was supremely confident in French military might. This was the flower of French chivalry, an unstoppable force honed by generations of warfare. Their objective, the rebellious Flemish cities, particularly the strategic stronghold of Kortrijk. Artois believed this campaign would be a swift, decisive demonstration of French dominance. Every soldier, from the humblest archer to the mightiest knight, was a testament to royal power. The sheer scale of the invading force was intended to crush all hope of Flemish resistance. Artois anticipated a swift, brutal engagement, solidifying French control over the wealthy Flemish lands. But in Flanders, a different kind of army was rising, fueled not by kings but by liberty. Ordinary men, roused by the call for freedom, transformed into a formidable, desperate fighting force. Their weapons might be crude, but their spirit was unyielding, ready to defend their homeland. Against the professional French, the Flemish knew they needed every strategic advantage possible. The city of Kortrijk became the focal point, a symbol of defiance against the encroaching French. For them, this was not just a battle for a king, but for their very way of life. The Flemish commanders meticulously chose their battleground, understanding the terrain's vital role. They sought ground where French cavalry, their greatest strength, would be rendered impotent. The Leia River, winding through marshlands and ditches, became the natural ally of the Flemings. They began to enhance nature's defenses, digging treacherous ditches, unseen until it was too late. Every strategic choice was deliberate, designed to channel and trap the overwhelming French numbers. The battlefield near Kortrijk was transformed into a deadly labyrinth, a trap for the unwary. Days were spent in grueling labor, fortifying their chosen position with meticulous precision. Hidden obstacles like jagged teeth lay concealed beneath the innocent-looking Flemish soil. Their defensive lines took shape, a disciplined wall against the anticipated, thunderous French charge. Every unit was positioned to maximize its impact, leveraging the terrain to devastating effect. They turned the very landscape into a weapon, a silent accomplice in their desperate struggle. Archers were strategically placed, ready to rain down death upon the approaching enemy formations. The Flemish lion stood its ground, defiant, rooted in the very earth it prepared to defend. Even minor waterways were transformed into impassable barriers, disrupting enemy movement and cohesion. The meticulous preparation was a testament to their unity, their shared resolve to fight. Every ditch, every pike, every position awaited the French, ready to unleash its deadly purpose. French scouts, pushing ahead, reported the Flemish deployment and their formidable preparations. Yet, Artois, steeped in traditional warfare, seemed to dismiss the farmers' and weavers' capabilities. The French army began its intricate deployment, confident in their numbers and tactical superiority. The knights, impatient for the charge, saw only an easy victory, a chance for renown. Despite the observed terrain, French tactics remained unchanged, relying on overwhelming force. Artois' battle plan was straightforward, a crushing frontal assault designed to shatter Flemish morale. The two armies now faced each other, separated by a deceptively tranquil field of death. A tense silence descended, broken only by the whispers of wind and the rustle of banners. Unseen by many, the treacherous terrain lay waiting, an integral part of the Flemish trap. The stage was set. The coming hours would forge a legend, echoing through centuries of warfare. Across the mud-soaked fields of Kortrijk, the elite French cavalry, the finest in Europe, prepared for their glorious charge. Clad in gleaming steel, driven by honor and faith, they believed victory was a certainty, a divine right. Their numbers were overwhelming, their confidence unshaken. 40,000 strong, they aimed to crush the Flemish rebels. This was the moment for which they trained, the devastating charge designed to break any opposition. With a roar, the order was given. The French war machine began its inexorable, thunderous advance across the field. Facing this formidable onslaught stood the Flemish citizen soldiers, resolute and prepared for the coming storm. No gleaming armor, no noble titles, just iron will and a simple, deadly weapon, the formidable goedendag. Their formation, an impenetrable wall of steel and wood, stood firm, an answer to the French cavalry's might. Unbeknownst to the French, the very ground they charged across held a treacherous secret, a deadly embrace. They knew the terrain, understood its power. It was their silent ally, ready to bog down the enemy. The first charge began, a breathtaking display of medieval power, the ground trembling beneath thousands of hooves. Their initial speed was terrifying, a cavalry storm designed to shatter morale and break enemy lines instantly. Each knight a symbol of feudal power, eager to prove their prowess against the commoners arrayed before them. The sound of their charge, a thunderous symphony of steel and horseflesh, echoed across the plains of Kortrijk. Their speed seemed unstoppable, an irresistible force hurtling towards the unyielding, disciplined Flemish iron wall. Then, the ground betrayed them. The marshy terrain, softened by recent rains, began to claim its toll. Hooves that had propelled them forward now struggled, mired in the boggy earth, slowing their furious pace. The devastating impact of the marshy ground transformed their glorious charge into a desperate, arduous struggle. Momentum was lost, cohesion shattered. The perfect cavalry charge dissolved into individual acts of desperate valor. Many riders were thrown, their heavy armor a death sentence in the deep, sucking mud below them. The once swift advance became a crawl, rendering their lances ineffective, their powerful horses now a liability. Confusion spread through the French ranks. The enemy wasn't breaking. Instead, the ground was breaking them. The disciplined Flemish formation stood firm, an iron wall, their patience a stark contrast to French disarray. The impenetrable Flemish line loomed, a horrifying realization dawning on the trapped, struggling French nobility. Their famed charges, once the terror of Europe, were now trapped, a floundering, vulnerable mass. As the French floundered, the Flemish unleashed their answer, the goedendag, a brutal, simple yet deadly weapon. Its spiked end pierced armor and flesh, its bludgeon crushed bone. It was designed for this brutal purpose. The goedendag proved devastatingly effective, tearing through the French cavalry with horrifying surgical precision. The Flemish, using the terrain to their advantage, moved with ruthless efficiency, exploiting French vulnerability. Each blow was delivered with purpose, fueled by courage and a burning desire to defend their homeland. Knights, once untouchable on horseback, were now dragged down, their heavy armor a fatal burden in the mud. The relentless effectiveness of the goedendags turned the melee into a slaughter, an unimaginable horror for the French. Swords were ineffective against the long reach and crushing power of the Flemish weapons, a brutal mismatch. The elite French cavalry, bogged down and dismounted, were now fighting on foot, a desperate, losing battle. The ground, once a stage for glory, became a grave, soaking up the blood of the finest French warriors. Disbelief turned to panic as the French nobility witnessed their invincible cavalry being systematically destroyed. Their courage began to falter, their confidence shattered. This was not the glorious victory they had envisioned, but the Flemish, fueled by their cause, pressed their advantage, their unyielding courage transforming the battlefield. Against all odds, the disciplined Flemish formation began to push back, turning the tide with unwavering resolve. Each swing of the goedendag, each step forward, solidified a new reality. The French dream was dying here. This was a tactical nightmare. The marsh trapped them. The goedendags butchered them. Escape was nearly impossible. The flower of French chivalry, once so proud, was now mired in mud and blood, their legacy shattered. What began as a confident charge ended in utter devastation, a testament to Flemish courage and tactical brilliance. The Golden Spurs, symbols of fallen nobility, lay scattered across the field, marking an unprecedented, shocking defeat. The initial French grand strategy, built on overwhelming force, quickly began to unravel on this unforgiving field. Confusion spread through their ranks as the meticulously planned maneuvers dissolved into disarray. Yet, the Flemish resolve held firm. They were an immovable bulwark, defying every French expectation. The heavy French cavalry, their pride and power, struggled relentlessly against the treacherous, boggy terrain. Infantry attempts to breach the Flemish lines repeatedly faltered, each push met with an impenetrable defense. Frustration mounted for the French leadership, watching their grand army succumb to an unforeseen predicament. Early French losses began to mount, each fallen soldier chipping away at their once unshakable confidence. The very ground became an enemy, turning the battlefield into a quagmire that sapped French strength. Disorder, like a malignant disease, spread rapidly through the once formidable French formations. Then, a roar of defiance from the Flemish. They sensed a turning tide, a moment of weakness. The battlefield devolved into a desperate melee, a swirling vortex of close-quarters combat and raw savagery. Every warrior fought for survival, their faces grim, locked in a dance of death. Steel met steel, wood splintered. The air vibrated with the screams of men and the clang of battle. The Flemish infantry, fueled by righteous fury, pressed forward, an unstoppable tide of retribution. Even proud French knights were forced to dismount, fighting on foot, stripped of their equestrian advantage. This was the true face of medieval warfare. Brutal, chaotic, and utterly merciless in its intensity. Against all odds, the Flemish resilience shone through the chaos, inspiring their countrymen to fight harder. French formations, once the epitome of military order, began to crack and splinter under the ceaseless pressure. Panic began to ripple through the French ranks. The once unflappable warriors now sought only survival. Then, a critical turning point. A royal French standard, emblem of their power, fell into the mire. Another banner, another symbol of French authority, was ripped from their grasp, signaling their impending doom. One by one, high-ranking French knights, pillars of their army, succumbed to the Flemish wrath. The battle transformed into a grim slaughter, a testament to the unforeseen ferocity of the Flemish. French lines collapsed. Fragmented resistance dissolved, leaving a wake of despair and disarray. The momentum shifted irrevocably. The Flemish, once underdogs, now held absolute dominion over the field. Then, the unthinkable. The French army, once so proud, broke and fled in a desperate, chaotic rout. Infantrymen, abandoning all formation, scattered like dust, leaving their comrades to a grisly fate. Even the cavalry, their supposed escape, found themselves ensnared, struggling through the treacherous terrain. The Flemish, tasting victory, pursued relentlessly, their vengeance swift and unforgiving across the field. Knights, once symbols of invincibility, were mercilessly cut down as they tried to escape the carnage. Chaos reigned supreme. The French army became a stampeding herd, each man fighting for his own life. The battlefield transformed into a horrifying massacre, a testament to the Flemish's decisive victory. Banners, once symbols of French pride, lay abandoned, trampled underfoot in the mud and despair. Desperation haunted every fleeing face. The once mighty French army was utterly shattered. The scale of the French collapse was unprecedented, a military disaster of epic proportions, forever etched in history. As the dust settled, the battlefield revealed its grim truth. Thousands of French fallen, a testament to Flemish might. Victorious Flemish soldiers moved through the carnage, not merely looting but executing a symbolic act. They sought the Golden Spurs, the ultimate symbol of the French noble elite and their chivalric pride. Each pair of Golden Spurs represented a fallen knight, a testament to their overwhelming defeat. Piles of these precious spurs grew, a shocking inventory of the crushing French loss and Flemish triumph. This act transcended mere looting. It was a potent symbol of a new order emerging on the battlefield. The collection of Golden Spurs became a stark, undeniable testament to the incredible Flemish victory. This was medieval Europe's most astonishing upset, forever cementing the Flemish name in legend. The Battle of the Golden Spurs, a peasant army's triumph, echoing through centuries, forever reshaping European power. The sun rose on a scene of unimaginable horror. Thousands of elite French knights lay dead, their ambitions silenced forever. Each scattered spur was more than a trophy. It was a stark testament to the stunning, bloody Flemish triumph. Disbelief mingled with grim satisfaction among the victors. The common man had faced and utterly shattered the knightly elite. The news, a wildfire ignited on the fields of Kortrijk, began its furious ride across the continent. Royal courts across Europe reacted with stunned silence. then outrage. The unthinkable had happened. An army of commoners prevailed. Whispers turned to shouts, and shouts to celebrations. A new legend was being forged in the heart of Flanders. The shockwaves from Kortrijk rippled across the continent. The balance of power was subtly, yet profoundly, shifting. In Flanders, an unparalleled wave of national pride surged. Commoners, not nobles, had defended their liberty against tyranny. Farmers, artisans, and merchants stood taller. Their shared identity, forged in blood, was now an unyielding force. Artists chronicled the victory. Bards sang its praises. The Golden Spurs became the indelible symbol of Flemish defiance. New banners proudly bore the Golden Spurs, displayed not as loot, but as a potent emblem of collective triumph. Monuments arose, celebrating the common man's valor. These were not mere trophies, but symbols of enduring Flemish spirit. In Paris, King Philip IV's fury was boundless. The humiliation of his elite army demanded swift, brutal retribution. French strategists grappled with the unthinkable. A new kind of war, where peasant armies could crush chivalry, had begun. Neighboring powers swiftly reassessed alliances. Flanders, once a minor player, now commanded a terrifying newfound respect. Diplomacy shifted, alliances wavered. The victory at Kortrijk was a potent catalyst, reshaping the continent's political chess game. Empowered Flemish leaders, no longer subjugated, openly challenged French authority. Their demands now carried undeniable weight. The myth of the invincible mounted knight, once absolute, lay shattered alongside their fallen mud-caked forms. The humble infantrymen, wielding pike and spear, had proven their decisive, shattering power against heavily armored cavalry. Military theorists across Europe scrambled to understand. The Golden Spurs offered a brutal revolutionary lesson in warfare's future. Training grounds saw new emphasis on disciplined infantry. The phalanx, the shield wall, ancient tactics reborn with deadly purpose. Future battlefields would echo Kortrijk's lesson. Infantry, once overlooked, emerged as the true arbiter of martial destiny. The Golden Spurs, more than mere trophies, became an eternal symbol, a new age of warfare, forged in Flemish courage. The dust of battle settled, but Kortrijk's echoes reverberated, reshaping the very fabric of European warfare for centuries. This wasn't merely a Flemish victory. It was a watershed moment, demanding a new understanding of conflict. Kortrijk unveiled tactical innovations, demonstrating the devastating power of disciplined infantry against mounted shock. The simple goedendag, wielded by commoners, proved a brutal equalizer against the finest mailed cavalry. The Flemings mastered terrain and formation, turning natural obstacles into deadly traps for their adversaries. This battle underscored the waning dominance of heavy cavalry, heralding an era where foot soldiers truly reigned supreme. The lessons learned here would reverberate, fundamentally altering how armies would be structured and fight. Kortrijk shattered the myth of the invincible knight, revealing the fatal flaws of entrenched aristocratic warfare. No longer could noble birth alone guarantee battlefield supremacy. Skill and discipline now truly mattered most. The battle exposed the social vulnerabilities of a military class whose effectiveness was built on individual glory. It was a dramatic foreshadowing of the knightly class's eventual decline, a slow, inevitable demise. The infantry's resurgence would reshape European power structures, leading to entirely new military paradigms. Across Europe, generals studied Kortrijk's brutal lessons. A new tactical reality slowly began to emerge. Military thinkers grappled with Kortrijk's implications, integrating these insights into future doctrines and training. From the Swiss cantons to the Scottish Highlands, the spirit of the Flemish foot soldier inspired evolution. Kortrijk undeniably set a precedent, proving that a well-organized, motivated infantry could humble any foe. Its impact resonated through centuries, influencing the very foundations of modern military organization and strategy. Beyond tactics, Kortrijk solidified the place of Flemish resistance in Europe's broader historical narrative forever. It became a powerful symbol of self-determination, inspiring generations of Flemings in their struggle for autonomy. The victory imbued a profound sense of courage and national identity, resisting tyrannical oppression against all odds. Its tale of defiance against overwhelming odds continues to inspire, a testament to enduring human spirit. The Battle of the Golden Spurs remains an eternal beacon, illuminating courage against tyranny and tactical brilliance. Kortrijk, a testament to the power of the common man, forever etched into the annals of military history. The Battle of the Golden Spurs, a name whispered through ages, a testament to enduring courage. Its legacy transcends medieval Flanders, becoming a timeless symbol of resistance against overwhelming odds. At its core lay ingenious strategy. Humble militias, through brilliant terrain use, confounded knightly might. This was not just a battle, it was an explosion of indomitable spirit, defying certain defeat and tyranny. The Golden Spurs proved the formidable power of a united people fighting fiercely for their shared homeland. Its lessons on warfare remain profound. Adaptability, exploiting terrain, and tactical innovation define ultimate victory. The Golden Spurs foreshadowed an evolving military landscape, where disciplined infantry could humble even mighty cavalry. For society, it taught that even the mightiest empires can be challenged by a collective, determined will. It underscored the profound right to self-determination, a principle still echoing powerfully in our world today. The timeless pursuit of freedom, etched into the heart of humanity, found a fierce, resounding voice here. The courage displayed at Kortrijk continues to inspire, reminding us that liberty is always worth fighting for. Reflect on these profound lessons. What does the enduring spirit of the Golden Spurs mean for us? Join the A-Leading Analysis channel community. Become part of our journey through history's greatest moments. For more cinematic journeys into epic military history, subscribe, like, and explore our full archive.